Welcome to lesson 5 in our 6-week Python course. This one is all about classes. We're going to take our snake, which is a kind of collection of variables in the main module, and we're going to implement it as a class. That's going to make our code a lot more readable, a lot more maintainable, a lot more modular. As usual, all the links that you need are on this landing page, and the link to the landing page itself is in the comments below. The link to the landing page also has a link to the GitHub, and what I've done is put lesson 5 in the GitHub. There it is. So let's get started. We start with the code pretty much as at the end of lesson 4. I've done one or two small refactorings just so that in this lesson we can concentrate on implementing the class. So for example, I've created a new dictionary called key direction map. It's very similar to the one we did in the previous lesson, key color map. And all that means is that the kind of if statement in the event loop is a bit simpler. I'm created also some quite long comments at the beginning. This talks about everything that we're going to do step by step in the lesson today. So created a notebook. It's called Lesson 5 Essentials. That's going to show a couple of things that we're going to need today. The first thing is a technique called unpacking the tuple. So here I've got a tuple with two integers in it, and it's called coordinates. And now if I want to get the two elements back, I can say x comma y, and it's going to take the first element of the tuple and put it into x and the second into y. That's a neat way of getting elements of a tuple into independent variables. We'll see a lot of that. This code cell here has the code almost exactly as we'll see it in our main program. We've got a snake body, which is a list made of 3 tuples. We're going to get the 0th element, that's the first tuple, and we're going to put x in the first element of that tuple and y in the last element, and therefore we can see the result. Now so far when we've been creating or initializing the snake body, we've been using some code like this. We create an empty list and we loop and run this for loop and appending each element or each segment to the list. A nice way to do it is something called this list comprehension here. What we've got is square brackets to indicate a list comprehension, and we put in the result that we want for each item for this kind of placeholder for I equals 0, 1 and 2. That's a more elegant way of doing it. I've also created a notebook called Class Essentials, and this creates the simplest class ever. So we can have a look at the syntax. We start with class, and then the name of our class, and the colon, and then we have our functions and properties. Our first function is a special one, init, with the double underscores at the front and at the end, the init method. And in all methods we always pass something called self. That's the pointer to the class itself, and then we pass any arguments. Notice that I've got optional arguments here because we've got default values. So what we've got is a simple airport class, and when it initializes it, it's going to pass in, we can pass in optionally a code like LHR, a city like London. We've also got a str underscore method, and that is the method that's used if we're going to print it out. So those are the two methods that I've got. I'll run the class now. I've defined the class. Here we're creating something called Heathrow, and it creates the airport. It uses the initialize method, and then we're printing it. That will use a str method to say this. We've got a code property. If we click on heathrow.code, it will return LHR, and city, that will return London. We can also change the city if we want, and so on. Now this is a very simple one and definitely not best practice. What I've got below here, I won't go through it in this video, but what I've got below here is a kind of properly implemented class. We're just about to start implementing our class. A quick reminder, we're going to take properties like this. That's the direction in the x direction, the movement in the y direction, the body, which is a list of segments, the snake color. They'll all become properties. We've got some functions that we wrote in the last lesson. These functions are going to become methods of the class. Is snake out of bounds and move snake. There's a couple of functions here like draw snake. that depend or use Pygame, so they'll stay as functions in our main module. And the reason for that is we don't want to have our snake class depending on Pygame. We might want to implement it in another package sometime. So let's get started writing the code. Let's start off with our class declaration. Let's call it snake. And the AI is helping us here. Let's just accept what the AI has, and then we'll go and change it. So I've accepted what the AI has. Let's just make it a little bit simpler. We're not so worried about initial length. This is the init method, so I'll just get rid of that, and I'll get rid of initial position equals none. And what we're going to do then is we're going to say this. We're going to say we don't care about that. So as we're taking it out, we'll just have a variable called initial position. That looks good. And I'll put range 3 in there because it's a length 3 to start off with. That looks good. So that's our init method is looking good. Our str method is just going to return a string with all the snake's properties. That's looking good. Our move method is also looking good, and our is out of bounds method is good. It's just basically taken the is snake out of bounds and done the same there. Let's now change the code in our main module to reflect the fact that we've got our snake class. Notice that the snake init method initializes the color to be green, and the directional movement 1 and 0, so it's moving towards the left, which means that we can get rid of this initialization code here, and we can come along, and there's a couple of methods. It's recreated these functions as methods, so we can take these out and we can remove those. We also can get rid of this code here. That's really what the init method does, and we can replace it with a call to our init method. Let's now update our draw snake function. At the moment it is bringing in various variables for various parts of the snake. We don't need that. We just need it to bring in the variable that represents the snake as one argument. Let's get rid of all of that. And then we can simply come along here and I'll say snake dot body, and we want to change this to the color property of the snake. Now let's go through our event loop, just changing all those old variables into properties of the snake. So snake dot color is the color, and it's going to be there as well. We can come down here and the AI is helping us. It's the .dx and .dy properties. Let's tick that off. That's good. And this one is, yes, going to be using the method is snake out of bounds. That's still not giving it us. We'll come and have a look at that in a minute. A move snake would give us snake.move. That's looking good. If we look at our draw snake functionality, it's square size, it's got a snake. So I'm going to just take away these two variables, make it pass in the snake variable. So now the moment of truth, we're going to run our snake game and see if it's working just as it is. So it is. It looks like it's working absolutely fine. Fantastic. So in this session, we haven't actually improved or changed the functionality of the snake. It does exactly the same, but our code is much better and much more modular. If we look at the main event loop that we can see here, it's much shorter, it's much to the point, it's much more readable, and with all the implementation about how the snake works is in our snake class here. In our final lesson, we'll be creating a food class, and we'll be extending our snake class so that when the snake meets the food, the snake grows. I look forward to seeing you on that video. Bye.